He walked so Zach Baggins could run. This is editing Damn again. Remember me last video? So once again, this was all supposed to be part of that first video, but that ended up being too long. So welcome to part 2. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe so that you will not miss part 3. If you didn't watch the first part I talk all about ghosts and ghost theories, stuff like that. This part is going to focus mainly on ghost hunting, and the next part, the third part, will be me doing my own little investigation / figuring out how some of these tools that I'm going to talk about in this video work. I hope you enjoy, and thank you for watching. Okay, now that we have identified what ghosts are and what they do and why we see them, let's talk about ghost hunting. Now, many of you may be familiar with shows such as Ghost Hunters or Ghost Adventurers, or watch YouTube channels that are dedicated to investigating the paranormal. But what if I told you that ghost hunting is not all that new of a phenomenon? I don't know why I still can't say that word. No, I want to introduce you to a man that walked so Zach Baggins could run. He walked so Zach Baggins could run. Back in the day existed a man named Joseph Glanville, known as England's resident ghost hunter. He lived in the 1600s and published books on the supernatural. But that wasn't all he did. He wasn't no armchair theorist. He went out into the field to prove it and stick it to those pesky atheists that God is real. He exists. And apparently ghostly activity would prove that. I don't know how or why, but yeah, he wanted to provide rational evidence of ghostly activity. And now, of course, if we're going to talk about scientists, I'm going to talk about anthropologists, because, that's my shit. Now, do you remember last time we talked about a guy named Sir Edward Burnett Tylor? Well, he's the guy who came up with the unilineal model of cultural development that proposed that cultures moved from primitive states to civilized states. Kind of racist idea, but well, he provided examples of people seeing and speaking to ghosts and recognized a common spirit voice. This spirit voice often manifested in a low murmur, chirp, or whistle. In Algonquin culture, the souls of the dead would chirp like crickets, while in New Zealand, the dead would speak in whistling tones. Similarly, in South Africa, the Imiolozi, aka the whistlers, would talk in a low whistling tone, and in Polynesia, the deceased would produce squeaking noises. And Tylor believed that all cultures believed in a human spirit or soul, which can manifest itself in different ways. He believed that this was a result of the human ability to dream, and that's what gave rise to the notion of ghosts. So basically, again, the idea that we are not able to differentiate between dreams and waking experiences. Then Franz Boas came onto the scene, and he called Tylor out. He said, "You're an armchair theorist. Franz Boas is a German-American anthropologist considered to be the father of American anthropology. He spent most of his career trying to destroy this idea of primitive cultures. He didn't really focus a lot on religion, magic, or spirits, but he also recorded many indigenous stories using their own perspectives and participated in their ceremonies." Now we have Bronislaw Malinowski, a Polish anthropologist who recognized that human misfortune and disease as being the original source of spirits. He wrote about how humans would attempt to control or appease spirits, perhaps through magic, in order to mitigate this misfortune. Okay, so now let's get more into ghost hunting specifically. As we've been talking about, almost every culture or religion has a concept of soul or ghost. Now, as scientists, we should work on expanding applications. But are ghost investigators really scientists? Well, they observe phenomena, collect data, kinda, and analyze their data, kinda. But they do conduct histories/research the locations that they investigate, although I often wonder sometimes what their sources are. Like, I tried to look into one specific place, and I just couldn't find any of the information that this is a YouTube video that of any of the thing that they had said. Like, I Googled everything, but I couldn't find it. Granted, it was a 5-second Google search, so obviously I'm not doing it as in depth as I'm sure they are. So, or maybe they have access to resources that I just simply don't have, which is fine. I'm not accusing anyone of making shit up. I'm just like using my noggin, you know. My search was very brief and shallow, so who knows? They probably have entire teams. I don't have an entire team. I am the team. Me. One person. Now, if we're going to talk about ghost hunting, we have to talk about tools of the trade. How ghost investigators collect their data. Now, if you've watched ghost hunting shows or videos, then you might be aware of some of these devices that are used. Number one is an EMF reader. These rely on the idea that ghosts either manipulate or give off EMF or electromagnetic fields. I don't know where this theory really originated from, but I know it's a very common theory. These typically run between $90 to $300 Canadian. Basically, they measure fluctuations in the electromagnetic fields. But here's the thing. It's 2024. Everything gives off EMF. Many household appliances, your cell phone towers, your cell phones, everybody carries an EMF device in their pockets. And there's wiring in walls. Like if there's lights, there's EMF. Of course, I don't know what the range is of these devices, so I don't know how close you have to be to something in order to make one of those devices go off. Like, can I be in the middle of my room and then a reader will detect wires in my wall, or like my internet router that's in the other room? I guess a lot of feedback is that people are not using this device properly. So I guess you're supposed to rotate it on its axis. I don't know, like this, or like this, something like that. Anyway, you rotate it on its 3 axis in order to get a proper measurement. But ghost hunters never really do that. Another thing to note is that in places of high EMF, often there are symptoms of dizziness, headaches, and trouble sleeping, which, if you remember earlier, people confuse this as being a symptom of a haunting. This tool could probably be better used as a debunking device rather than a proving device. For example, symptoms like these, the dizziness and headaches and uneasiness that are experienced in areas that don't have fluctuations, could better be proof for presence of spirits. Another device is recorders, or to record electric voice phenomenon, EVP. Now these can set you back between $40 and $300. Most of my things are in Canadian dollars because I'm in Canada, so it might be less in the States because it's American dollars and your dollar is better than ours. Anyway, but EVPs can run between 40 to 300 Canadian dollars. A particular favorite is the Panasonic DR60. This was designed as an expedited dictation device, and it's only supposed to run when it picks up sound. So you can set it on a desk, and you can just talk, and you don't have to cut out bits. According to Ghost Hunters, this was recalled because it was picking up extra voices, unbeknownst to the recorder. So when they played it back, they would hear these ghostly voices. However, debunkers say it wasn't recalled, it was just simply discontinued for being overly sensitive. So instead of voices, you would hear ruffling of your shirt, or if you picked something up, it would hear that. And that's why it was discontinued, not recalled. Maybe that's true. Probably most of the time, I'm sure that's true. But sometimes I swear when I watch YouTube videos and there's like an EVP, most of the time it is like nothing. Even when they put the words on it, I'm like, I definitely don't hear that. I don't know how you hear that. But sometimes, and I try not to look at what they put on there, like the words they put on the screen, so that I'm not like influenced. But like, I swear sometimes I can hear a clear as day answer as if someone was in that room with them. So I like that. Like, it's fun when that happens, but like most of the time it is just garbled nothingness. But also, I could be biased, to be fair. But I do like to think that maybe a small percentage of the time it is a real ghost talking, because I just really want to believe. Like I said, I'm a healthy skeptic. Skeptic? Yeah, I'm a healthy skeptic, so I'm not fully closed-minded to it. I could be swayed either way. Like, I don't fully believe. I like the idea. I don't know about it, the reality though. Next, we have a spirit box or a ghost box. I don't know if they're the same thing or if they're two completely different things. These run on radio waves, running at a high speed, and I guess the spirits are supposed to be able to communicate it through the white noise. Now, I thought that this was like spirits can push like certain words through that they hear like in a song. Like, let's say they wanted to say, I stay up too late. So they push through like, oh, Taylor Swift's song is always on the radio. Not like fully they are like, yep, only Taylor Swift, but like they want to say that word, and then that song is on the radio, and so they'll push through those words. That's how I thought it worked, but because whenever they play these, there's always a Taylor Swift song that comes through. One, because she's always on the radio, and maybe it's because all ghosts are Swifties, and I think that confirms it. But anyway, so you're not supposed to listen to the words through songs or like song or words on the radio. You're supposed to listen to the words between the static or in the static. I don't know how I feel about this. I think I like it a little bit better when it's used in conjunction with the SS method. So that way you are not like, so the SS method, you are blindfolded and you're wearing noise canceling headphones. That way when your partner asks a question, you're not influenced, your hearing isn't influenced by the question. So if someone asks, what color is the sky? And you hear something that kind of sounds like blue or like rue or two, like you're probably going to think blue because you heard the question, what color is the sky? I kind of like that better, but also I've heard debunkers say, oh, well, they're too close, or maybe this is pre-planned. I like to think that it's not pre-planned. I would prefer that method rather than them just playing the radio raw without the, what do they call it? The deprivation, the sense deprivation. Anyway, these typically run between $100 to $600 American dollar. No, Canadian dollars, not American. Similarly, we have the Ovilus, which costs, I'm going to hold you when I say this, $800. $800. $800. That's more than my rent. So, apparently, this reads the environment or vibrations, which then translates it into words from the dictionary. This one, I don't know how down I am. I feel like it's just spitting out random words or like ambiguous words. Like if it spits out the words water or like rock, chances are no matter where you are, you're going to be by water or a rock. But I do find it interesting when it's like a lot of ambiguous or general words together. Like, for example, if I'm out in the forest and, okay, if it says tree, trees are everywhere. But let's say if it says camp or like Crystal Lake, and I'm at Camp Crystal Lake. Okay, maybe, but again, it could just be, I don't know if these things can like, they're like your phone where they track your location. I don't know. Or like, but like, you know, it says a lot of circumstantial things in a row, or like, it says how many people are you there with? It'll say 4, and you're with 4 people. Like, 4 could be anything, but like a bunch of little things accumulating, it's a little more believable. But if it's just like, oh, tree, random words, rock, like that's not enough. You need a lot of random, or like a lot of general information for me to feel that it is concrete. And a lot of these times, I guess the dictionary that these things use, it often uses words that are associated with ghost hunting or like just scary things. It'll say like ghost or spirits, which if I was a ghost or spirit, why would I say ghost or spirit? That just doesn't make any sense to me. Or they'll say death. Yeah, ghosts are dead. Or they'll say murder or the devil. Like, just, it adds to the scary spookiness. And I just think most of the times it's just weird. Obviously, it's producing words that are gonna make this certain narrative, like, oh, somebody died, and it says murder, and they're like, oh my god, somebody was murdered here. Like, I don't know about that. Like I said, it is really interesting when they do use it and get what seemingly direct responses. But also, you can allegedly program it to say certain words, which I don't know why you would want to program it to say certain words if not trying to be deceitful. Like, I don't know why else you would have that in there. It just doesn't make any sense. Why would you need to program it if it has the dictionary in there? And I know the dictionary doesn't have like every word ever invented, but like it's already mostly saying negative words like 80% of the time. Why do you need to put in specific words for it to say? I don't know. I don't like that. And you may have also seen REM pods. These typically run around $300. It uses an antenna which gives off its own EMF. And when it detects a disruption, will change colors or set off some kind of alarm. And it also detects changes in temperature. Again, I don't know how sensitive these types of devices are. Like, could a little speck of dust or a little tiny fly, a little fruit fly into its own like field and set it off, and it looks like it's going off on its own, but it's like in reality it's a little speck of dust. I would like to know that. I don't want to completely just write off these devices entirely. I would like to maybe see how they work, but obviously I don't have the money to be dropping on this kind of stuff. And also, apparently, thunderstorms like lightning and thunder can just set off these devices randomly. So, not great to use during a bad weather day. Thermal cameras can also be used to detect changes in temperature, specifically spots that are hotter or colder than the surrounding area, which is then reproduced into images. The idea behind this is that paranormal activity lowers temperatures in the area. I don't know about the validity of these. Cold spots could probably look like cold things, and then we're going to interpret it as a thing, but I don't know. And then we have the SLS camera, which I guess is just an iPad and an Xbox Connect. I don't know why this is a thing. It kind of reminds me in what Paranormal Activity movie was it? Like the second one where they had, I think it was an Xbox and they had the dots and they could see like the figure. That was scary, but I don't know about that in real life. And again, debunkers often say that this is never used properly. It is meant to be a stationary device, and because its whole purpose is to look for humans, it's going to try and make a human out of anything. So like a chair, which has little legs. Okay, change of angle because my battery died, but let's continue. So the SLS camera, aka Xbox Connect and an iPad, not sure about the validity of it, but many debunkers believe that it is often employed incorrectly, as the whole point of it is to search for human shapes. So obviously what it's going to do is look at anything remotely human shaped, like a chair or a table. Those have legs. It's going to try and recreate a human because humans have legs and tables have legs, essentially. But also they're meant to be stationary. So many times they're often deployed scanning rooms or walking around. So there's more chance of it to misinterpret maybe an object in a room as being a human or a ghost. Now let's talk about less complicated methods that are used, like everyday flashlights. Now these are those kind of twisty flashlights that they'll put on a surface and they'll twist it not quite so it's on. And the idea is that they can communicate with ghosts with like simple answers like yes or no, and the ghost can tap it and it'll turn on or off. The problem with these is that they have internal mechanisms which will heat up in turn, turning it on, and then eventually it will cool down, turning off at random intervals, and that may be misinterpreted as being a direct response, when in fact it is just completely natural phenomenon. Additionally, we have cat balls, which are explainable. You put them on the ground and they light up, I guess, when they're touched. That's it. I don't know about that. I guess they detect ghosts and cats. So anyway, ghost hunters employ a number of different devices in order to prove the existence of ghosts and ghostly phenomenon. While their validity is not exactly there yet, they are under ridiculous scrutiny because the methods are often unreliable and unrepeatable. So that is what will continue keeping ghost hunting as a pseudoscience. And since we're on the topic of costs of ghosts, let's talk about how much it costs to go to some of these locations that these ghost hunters go to. So now, most famously, we have the Conjuring House, which will run you between $900 to $1,500 a night to investigate, and the Villisca X Murder House is $500 a night. The Shanley, not the Stanley, runs between $500 to $700 a night. Most reasonably priced, the Sally House runs about $250 a night. Of course, these are subject to change, such as timing of the year, like Halloween. It'll be more popular, obviously, and probably have different prices for content creators. Obviously, ghost hunting is a quite expensive endeavor, so that means there's more incentive to fake. Maybe the real ghosts were the capitalism we made along the way. But that being said, I'm not saying that all ghost hunters are faking it. Maybe some are. I've seen some pretty compelling stuff, in my opinion, but everything can be easily faked or edited. So let me know what you think down in the comments. I want to know if you've experienced it or what you think about these methods that ghost hunters use. I'm Dan Reed. Make sure you like and subscribe because in the next part, I will be using these tools to do my own little investigation. And let's just see how these things work. And I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. And like and subscribe, please. It's free. Please, it's free. Please.